Back to the React get started. So we have the to do app dom React. I need to bring out my terminal, which is pointing to 02 app dom. So but I need to navigate to we are here 02 app dom. I need to navigate to the to do app dom React. So I just have to do cd to do app dom React. Enter. Now I'm there. So all I have to run is import package JSON is called npm. Excuse me. It's called npm start. So I can just do npm start. Then boom, it should show in my browser. This is the result of what we're actually doing, right? So, but we don't need this. We need to quickly create this again, right? So let's go back to our code. First of all, we don't need the app css, we don't need the app text because that's not what we are working on. So I'm going to remove them all just like the last time. So app.js and index.js. So in my app index.js there will be error of some things that has been imported, so I'll remove the two, right? I'll remove this line too so I can save. Let me go to my app.js. I think there's one logo imported here. I don't need this too. I can remove this entire code and just do to do app h1 to do app h1. So hello world, save. Then if I come here, so all we just have to do is just do the same thing. I leave this one as class app. We don't need it, but let's just leave it. So I'll just do input as usual, right? Then next thing is button, add. Next thing is ul, sorry, ul. Next thing is li, sorry, yeah. So first to do, then I save and I come here. Yes, you can see. I know it, guys. Pay attention this time, and I come here and do this. So if I still come here, you are still going to see first name, right? But what if I now come back here and now change it to say let's and I do um, to do name equals last name. And I save. Once we get here immediately, because immediately we get here, it initialize once. The initialization occurs once, and for you to know, we need to inspect. Whenever we are doing the React, we need to pay attention. So I'll be logging log render. This might occur once or twice, but you will see. So like this is just like for a dev tool, but this is our initial render in app.js as you can see. But this one is also inspecting how many times we have our render. So immediately we render this page, it occurs once, right? And now if I do add here and I want to update whatever that is here. So for example, if I say on click, right, and I do arrow function of to do name is equals to person. See, I'm clicking, but you might think like it's not changing. Is this button working? For you to know this button is working, let me just log something for you here for you to know that this button is working. So button works, but value didn't change. Can you see the amount of time I'm clicking? Button works, but value didn't change. This last name did not change. But every time I click this button right here, you see button works, value didn't change. Or is there anything I'm missing here? No. What I did is I said once I click this button, this to do name should change to Gaussian. And every time I click it, it's not reflecting. Why? Because we need a mechanism to, did I say mechanism? We need something mechanism to refresh this page for us. Like we need something to trigger this page to let it understand that something has changed. So let me explain to do. Let me explain React to you guys. So welcome to React. So this is how React works. We have something we call DOM, virtual DOM, and real DOM. So what's the difference between this real DOM and virtual DOM? You see the data we are seeing here, that we are seeing currently, is the real DOM. Real DOM, right? Virtual DOM is when you actually change this name right here, this to do name to gotten. When I actually click this button, I eventually change this to do name to gotten, and when I log it inside the button, it shows to do name, but inside your li, this list, it didn't show to do name. What is still using is the top to do name that we already changed here. So this is currently our virtual DOM. Okay, real DOM is this current document that we are seeing on our screen. Don't forget, all elements are documents, right? So all these elements that you are seeing are one document for you guys that you can see. Then the virtual DOM is, we've already updated a variable behind the scene. Like, you know, it's not showing on this screen, but it's happening behind the scene, like virtually, like you, like it's there, but it's not real, right? So which is this? And the only way this particular change can reflect here is we need to refresh, like we need to reload this particular component, letting it understand that something has changed here. Okay, so in order for us to reload, the difference between real DOM and virtual DOM in React is that in React checks if there's difference between your virtual DOM and your real DOM. So if there's difference there, it will just update the only thing that changed. That means if we have values like A, B, C, D in your real DOM, and in your virtual DOM, you have something we call A, B, A, B, D, E. What changed here is the C, and what is added here is the E. So in the cross work for your to do DOM, in the cross work like this, what we do is, you see this C, you to just take it off only, like instead of taking the entire A, B, C away, then pass this one on. It will only take off your C, right? Move this D upward, then add E in your real DOM. So back to the code part. So now this page, we already have our real DOM, which is already displaying. But on click on this button, we are already changing something here, which is the DOM name, which is not affecting our to-do list. So in React DOM, they provided something we call hooks. You guys will learn about hooks very well later. But for now, what we want to use in hooks is called use state. The use state works like set and get. So for example, this is our get, and if we want to set it, this is how we are setting it again. But once this page is being rendered, right, you can't change anything here on this page again. So for us to make this value change, because the value has changed here, but it can't affect what is outside the return value, because anything inside this place happens once it has happened, that's the real DOM, it can't change. So even though you change it, it will not reflect what is outside it again. So for us to be able to change what is outside the return UI, we need to use something we call use state. Use state. Let me type it properly so that you guys can see. So you can say, let me say first name, for example, or yes, first name, for example, you can make it and set first name equals to use state, right? And I'm going to use state should have the default value is empty string. So I need to import use state from React, because you can't just use it without importing. Then I have to import. So I do import. I need to import React, then import use state too. Don't worry, all these things, like, is not something you need to rack your head. Like, it's just going to be there. Use state from React. Okay, so import use state from React. So we've done get and set. Okay, using this variable now. Now we are using use state. So first name, I'm going to put it inside here to replace to do name, first name. And once we click, we need to change this. Gaussian will still be the person we want to change it to. So we'll just change it here to Gaussian. We don't need to log, we should be able to see the results. We set a use state of first name here, which is our get. We give it a default value of what did I check that time? Sumto is the default value. So if we save and check, what we are going to see in our React app is going to be Sumto. Let me minimize this back. What we are going to get is Sumto by default because it's Sumto that we set here. If I put Ella here, Ella will be there as default by default, right? So once we now click, it changed to Gaussian. Since this is just what we need to change, and you can see the effect immediately. Let's refresh and see. I click on it. It's the only thing that flicks. It's the only thing that changes here, right? Every other thing will remain the same. So use state can take any data type, and you guys remember our data types, right? Number, right? Number, boolean, string, arrays, objects, and so on. So now, for our to do, you know this UL, we have multiple lists, right? This is where we need to use what we call map. Instead of always doing ul add child or whatever you want to be doing there, we don't need to do that again. All we need to do is map. How can we map? So we call this one to do list, to do list. Then we call this one set to do list, right? So inside our set to do list, we need an empty array. We can call it empty array of sum to self to start with so that we can see something there. So in our to-do list, we can just do something we call to-do list dot map. Inside our map, it will always return two things. Our map always return value index, not just two things, so like value index and array of strings. But for now, what we need is the value and index. You can read this instruction that we have here, right? So what we need is value and index. So we call this one value, comma index, right? Then we can do this inside our map. We can just do this as arrow function of li. Then this li return value. Yes, sorry. And there's something in React. Each element has to be unique. You guys don't need to so much work, but it's very necessary. So we always do something called key of index. Yes, we get to it later and I'll explain later. But for now, just know what we do with this index for now, which later we might change in case like real data is coming. We can use value set for index or id for index, but index is like the position of your item in the array. Okay, so for now we say li key index and value inside this instead of saying li dot inner html. We don't need to do those ones again. If you guys notice so far, right, this our set to do will now be whatever that is in the input. So we need to get the value of our input. So we say on change. We need to create another state for that. So we need to call that. We need to call that to do input. So we can set our to do input, and the value is going to be empty string. Mind you, guys, we can have as much as possible states that we want, depending on whatever we are doing, but it's not reasonable for you to have multiple states like this. IS, you create multiple components that will be doing just one specific thing than your component doing a lot of things that you have to do a lot of states like that. Okay, so now the next thing we need to do is just set the value inside this place. So what will be coming whenever you type something will be the event. So you say event dot target, dot value. I will explain that later. What I need to do is I need to get the copy of our to-do list here. So what I can just do is do const, right? So I say temporary copy of to-do list, right? Then I have all the copy inside the to-do list. This is a squared operator, right? Because I'm expecting it to be in an array. I'll explain if you guys have any question. Then here I can handle what is here and push to it. Then hopefully our to do app will work now. So input to do, input to do should be here. So what I did is this. Initially, to-do list, everything in to-do list is just something, right? So now if you do a spread operator, that means you are copying everything here back inside temporary to-do list, right? So anything here is still what we have here. It's just that why we didn't use this is a top this is a top variable kind of that we won't want to like make changes to just like that. You understand? So instead of doing that, we can make a copy. Then once we make a copy, since it's an array, then we can push whatever is in our input to it. Then once we push whatever we have in our input to it, then we can set it. You understand? We can set it back to this. So anything we have here. So let me show you log one after the other. So let me log it one after the other because that should be what we are doing. So the first thing is we want to see what is our in our to-do list before. This is one, right? After getting what's in our to-do list, then we want to see what is in our temporary to-do list. You see that it will be the same thing. This is our temporary to-do list, right? Then after which we got what is in our what is in our temporary to-do list. We push to do input inside our temporary to-do list, which is day 3, right? After we've pushed, right? Let me put pushed temporary to-do list. It should be to do. Nobody really temporary to do. Yeah. So after we've done that, then we now set it back to this. Let's see if our app is still works. Okay. Yeah. So first thing, this is what is in our to-do list initially. Sumpto. Like this is what is here. This array we have here is what we have here. Sumpto, right? And when we make a copy using spread operator, right? Spread operator remove reference because if we say to-do list is equals to temporary to-do list equals to to-do list, we are still saying temporary to-do list is directly still this to-do list. So everything you do to temporary to-do list will affect this. But once you do a spread operator, it makes a copy without holding a reference to this. So when we do this, this our temporary to-do list is not connected to this anymore. It only has a copy of it. So in case you want to do copy using array, you use spread operator, okay? So now after we've gotten a copy, this is our step 2. We say we should see what is there. So after we make a copy in step 2, you can see we have a copy of Somto, right? Then after we got a copy of Somto, we push whatever that is in our input. So this is how we got the value in our input, this, right? Then we push because it's an array. To add to an array, you do a push, right? So I'll send the link to this and link to push to you guys. So you push to the existing array. Then after you do that, then I now replace. So if you anything you pass to set to do list, it will replace whatever you have in this before. So when we now do this, our current to do list is already Somto and SS. So when we now set, it replace everything here to what we have here. So I can add as much as possible that I want here, right?